Well, thank you, guys. This is a really cool thing that the museum has done, the foundation, and we're really excited about all of the things happening here at the foundation. I know Betsy just asked who out here are members. As you know, it's a 501c3, and they really do tell the story of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the Indianapolis 500, and we are so excited to continue to partner with them. And this speaker series has become a very popular one, and when I was asked to be part of this one this evening, I was really excited because, with the exception of somebody that's related to me, if you were to ask me who my favorite IndyCar driver was, it would absolutely 100% be this guy. And I think for a lot of folks in this room, and certainly a lot of folks who show up 243 days from now for the 104th running of the Indianapolis 500, there is one guy that they love and they know understands what it means to win the Indianapolis 500, knows the tradition, and man, is he passionate about this place. And you can hear it when he leads, you can hear it when he's introduced, you can hear it when he's walking down pit lane. You know, I do keep track, and I said 243 days until the 104th running of the Indy 500, and I was trying to think of a connection to those days counting down for this guy. Fortunately for him, he's led 46 laps at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so I couldn't do maybe that's our Tony Kanaan day next year, and hopefully if he leads a lot, we'll have to start counting down ahead of a year. But this guy, it took him 12 races to win the Indianapolis 500, and I think in a lot of ways, he will probably tell us that he is glad that it took him that long because he knows what it means to pull into victory lane better than anybody in our field and maybe better than anybody who's run the Indianapolis 500. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2013 Indianapolis 500 champion, Tony Kanaan. Tony, come on out here.
You know more of my stats than I am. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I'm one of those crazy fans, you know. Now that you're in Indianapolis, you live here now, we can all chase you around. And, you know, even before you moved here, we kind of felt like you were a Hoosier. Your first 500's in 2002. It's a one-off in 2002 before you come to the Indy Racing League back then, full-time in 2003. For your first impressions of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, first, and coming from somebody who in 1998 wins the US 500, so you'd won a 500-mile race before. You show up here in 2002. What was the Speedway like?
Well, for me, first of all, good evening. Thank you guys for coming. Nice to see everybody, some friends. Indianapolis obviously was well known in Brazil because of, you know, the Brazilians, Emerson and those guys. And I was always, you know, that was a race that I used to watch with my dad all the time. So it was a place that I've always wanted to race, and I was always weird about this place. I always said that the only time I was going to come visit this place, it was if I was going to race. I didn't want to come here before that. And actually, that's exactly what happened. The first time, obviously I drove outside, I mean in front of it, but I never actually had driven in through the tunnel until 2002. So then in 98, I won the fake Indy 500, whatever they wanted to call it at the time. It was like, yeah, you know, you win, but you really don't, you know. And then in 2002, I really realized, you know, yeah, I had an idea, but I don't think it does justice to say that watching from TV, you know exactly what this place is. And it was very intimidating to drive through the tunnel, and then you come in. It was this, I don't know if it's in my head, but it was this energy that was very different. And it's the same feeling every time, you know. And like just right now, we drove in, Lori and I, and you know, you go through the tunnel. Actually, I stopped and talked to the two yellow shirts, the same old ladies that they're, and they said, "You're late." I said, "No, I'm not." But it's unbelievable every time, you know. And obviously, I come here now more often. Doug lets me ride my bike around the track during the week, so but every time is the same feeling.
So 2002, you're here. You start something that I don't think you realize you're starting, but you lead your first Indianapolis 500, and you'll go on and lead 7 in a row. Never done before. Somebody comes in and leads their first 7 races, most consecutive that anybody's led, but to do it in your first 7, take a year off, and then you go lead 7 more in a row. So your current boss led 6 in a row at one point in time. You've done 7 twice. Will Power just tied you this year. But did it mean anything to you that first year? Did it sink in? Or when did it really sink into you as you were a leader in the Indy 500 that there have been 775-ish people start this race only a couple hundred have actually said they could lead. And you, other than Scott Dixon, you've led more laps than any active driver today. When did it all of a sudden hit you that I'm leading the Indianapolis 500?
Well, first of all, it's always, you know, awesome to lead the Indy 500. But after 7 times in a row, I was like, can I lead the right lap? Which is like, I mean, it doesn't matter if you lead, you know. So, but no, in 2002 when I took the lead, it was kind of like you have to get yourself together. You're leading the Indy 500. You can't just go, oh my God, this is. So, but it was a really it was a different feeling. I'm like, you know, because the history of this place, the history that I had with my dad watching this race on TV, and when Dad passed, my promise to him that one day I was going to win this thing. So it was very difficult to keep it together. And then, you know, you come back and you do it again, then you do it again, then you start getting used to it. And you're like, this feels good, you know, and you go through everything I've been through, and you like, you know, it doesn't matter. You gotta lead the right lap. You gotta lead the right lap. But nowadays, every time I lead, it's just, I mean, I can actually not. I would say after the 3rd or 4th year, I could actually see the crowd like cheering. I can't hear them, but I can see the hands, and it's so every time I take the lead nowadays, I make sure in the front straight I kind of look at them. You know. Well, they're still there. They still cheer.
So over time, you start getting this tiresome question, and a lot of us here in this room have had this conversation over beers with buddies. You know, who's the best IndyCar driver to never win the Indianapolis 500? And several years into your running, it's Lloyd Ruby, Mike Landretti, Tony Kanaan. I mean, your name keeps coming up, and people ask you that question. So it's 2011, 2012. How frustrating does that question get for you? You're still in company of some unbelievable race car drivers, but it's a huge hole, right?
It was, and you know, the most actually common question was, "Is this the year?" I'm like, "Well, I hope so." It's otherwise I wouldn't be here. But yeah, I mean, I talked about this before. We talked about it. I've always said this place picks the winner, you know, and I was never once mad at this place or upset that you know it wasn't happening for me. Like you said, I was the good and the bad, right? The good thing about it is I had more chances. I could still try, but the bad thing about it, I haven't done it. But also, I was even in good company if I hadn't won, right? You have names there, the greatest guys. But for me, I was actually always grateful that I was able to be part of it. I was very well loved by my fans. They always made me feel good regardless of my result. So that was the good part. The bad part was like, man, selfishly, I want to win this thing, you know. Yes, it's great. You know, we could be sitting here, says you led, you know, 7 in a row, then you took a year off, another 7, so 14 times total, blah, blah, blah. But then I wouldn't have a ring, and my picture wouldn't be there, you know. So leading up to all these years, I tried to not to think too much, and just actually every time I came here in May was, look how fortunate I am to be part of the greatest race in the world again, and we'll try. And then finally in 2011 it was extremely it was a very different year for us. You know, I moved teams. I went to KV. Then we started the Strix. And then finally in 2013, so we had a 2-year deal. 2013 was my last year. Jimmy bought this chassis in December and said, we're not going to use it until May. So you better not crash your primary car until then, otherwise. So we did that. We were losing the sponsorship. We didn't have enough money to actually finish the entire season. So I went into that season saying, you know what? I looked at Laurie and I said, look, that might be my last chance to race here. You know, that's the way I thought. I didn't think about, you know, somebody could call me, do a one-off, and anything like that. So I decided that year I was going to enjoy everything that I didn't enjoy up until then. All the 12 years that I've been here. It's a very stressful month for us. We have so many things to do. So everything becomes a pain. right? Because you're focusing on the race car. At the time, I didn't live here, so I wouldn't go home. I stayed here the entire time, the whole month in my bus. And you breathe, racing all 24/7. So somebody says, oh, you got to do an appearance. You're like, oh, my God. Then you go, oh, you got to go sign some autographs. Like, man. So I said, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to enjoy the 500 the way I've been doing for the past 12 years at the time. So I told Lauren, I said, it is what it is. It might be my last one. And I did a bunch of things different. I think by that I released a lot of pressure out of myself. I did every single appearance and more, and I started doing more. I came to the museum and walked around during the month of May, which is extremely difficult at times. And it was like that. I mean, the night before the race, Jimmy and I, we had a thing with numbers, and Jimmy was always number 12. And we started 12. Our pit box was 12. But I was number 11 at the time. So Lori and I, we went Saturday night, we went to a sponsored dinner, and driving back to the track, we stopped at the traffic light right before the entrance of the racetrack, and I looked at the dash of our car, and the mileage was 1111. Actually, she saw it. She's like, look at this. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Cool. We drove in through the tunnel. It was late at night, and it was the old pylon still. And for some reason, it was, obviously we had the numbers, 1 through 33. The entire pylon was actually off, and the only number that was on was the 1, and it said 11. I'm like, okay, it might be something. And Zanardi came with the gold medal that he just had won, and he said before the race, he said, if you rub this thing, it's going to bring you so much luck. So I actually took it and kept it in the bus for half an hour. I usually take a nap before the race. So, and then you guys know the outcome. So it was, I don't know, coincidence or not. One thing I have to say, I remember, I was part of many of my teammates winning the Indy 500. I used to say that I made more trips to the winner's circle here without winning a race than anybody else. When Ned won in 2005, it was awesome for him. But then I remember when he went back and won in 2011, he said, I didn't realize how important that was. And I'm glad that actually, if it had taken this long, because I think I appreciate it so much more after 12 years that I enjoyed every moment of it. I still do. It's something that, for me, I don't get tired telling the stories. The sleepless nights that we have sometimes where we worry about stuff, I go downstairs and then I turn on the last 5 laps and I feel great. So it's something that, I think, I'm glad that it happened the way it happened, to be honest. I think, it's something that, looking back, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have appreciated as much if it had came a little bit easier, I would say.
So I just follow up on a couple of things that I thought of as you're thinking that through. So you end up taking the lead with a couple laps to go in that race. You got Ryan Hunter-Reay right there. Is there anything going? And I've heard the story, and you tell the story many times of you could hear and see the crowd when you're actually in the lead. I can remember Dave Calabro during the yellow saying, "Okay, who's excited about Ryan Hunter-Reay?" And the crowd cheers. And it's who's excited about Tony Kanaan? The crowd goes crazy, right? And it's just clear that everybody wants you to win that race. Anything goes through your mind those last few laps that I've been snake bitten at this place for 11 races, and here's this guy that's been fast all day long, and am I going to end up second and not win this thing again?
Yeah, actually, when went yellow, I was in the perfect position. I said, I'm second. That's what I wanted to be, because with the long straightaways, the leader will lose the lead. But it was 3 laps to go. So I came on the radio and I said to Jimmy, Jimmy, this is going to be all or nothing. I'm going to go for it because I've lost races here under the yellow because I waited it until the last lap. And it didn't happen because something happened prior to that. And the way we have our rules, that's it. The race is over. So I And I didn't give myself that option to finish second this time. I said it's going to be all or nothing. I'm at either I was going to win or that car was not going to come back to the pits in one piece. So, you know, we restarted it, and that's what I did. I took the lead, and you know, a crash happened in the back, and that was it. I mean, the people asked me over the years, you know, you just talked about it, the last restart. What's going through your mind? You know, are you actually the worst laps of my life was after that yellow flag. You know, it's 1.5 laps. I'm like, something's gonna happen. I start hearing things. This thing is gonna blow up. Like, come on, pace car, just push it. You know, it was the weirdest thing because it was the longest lap I've ever done in my life in this place. It was that lap.
And that was a crazy race, right? That's still the most lead changes in any race we had with 68.
187
miles an hour, fastest race. I mean, just some crazy stuff in that race. And then you end up winning. And you know, it seems to me like if I look at your career, 2011 was a tough year for everybody, but especially for you and Dario because of the Dan incident. Then you struggle. At one point in time, we think you're going to go NASCAR racing as an IndyCar fan base, and we're like, hey, come on, TK
close.
Cannot leave us. You end up almost signing with DeFera, and that falls through. You end up with KV. It just was a tough period of time, those 24 months, really. But in a lot of ways, looking back, you won the Indy 500 in what may have been the toughest professional part of your career.
Doug, I believe that everything happens for a reason, and I think it was meant to be. If you think about it, right, we lose the sponsorship. I had a 5-year deal left in my contract with Michael when 7-Eleven left. And Michael was like, I can't do anything about it. And I had to leave, so, that was November 2010. So we signed with Gilles. We had no sponsorship. Then 2 months later, Gilles folds the team. I actually signed with Jimmy KV 6 days before St. Pete. So I had the opportunity to go race trucks for Kyle Busch, and I said, nah, I want to stay in IndyCar. I'm going to try. And look what happened, right? So we win the race, and Michael finished second, third, and fourth of his car. So it was like, you should have kept me. No regrets. Michael was, obviously he couldn't feel the car for me. I always pull his legs about that, but look what happened, right? I mean, nobody expects us to win. It's always about the big teams, and, either it was going to be, Andretti had 5 cars, Penske had 3 cars, and you ask, and people are like, well, or Carpenter at the time, they are always strong here. So it was at least 10, 12 cars that are a lot stronger than us, and here we are, 1-car team, and we did it. So it was, like I said, everything that happened was so much more sweet that it was the unexpected, what people didn't think of it, and for me, I enjoyed it a lot more, and that's, and then you look forward, 8 years after that, 9 years, and that's why I signed with AJ. People are like, what are you doing? Why? I said, well, it worked once. We're gonna make work again.
So 2013 victory celebration, we prepare for Victory Lane. We want it to sort of be exciting. I love the fact that our Victory Lane, we don't make you wait in the car. We let you get out when you get there, and you just see all that emotion where, so much of it you see anymore is staged. Your drivers are left in cars till TV's ready. And we end up with state troopers because we want to make sure that we only let people into the victory celebration that belong there. Well, your victory celebration is the most chaotic thing I think I've ever experienced in my life. State troopers getting run over, shoved out of the way. It's your entire team, but it was almost like the entire, because you'd worked with or around so many people, and so many people in our paddock cared for you so much. Everybody and their brother wanted inside there to see that, and I don't know if you noticed that, but it was one of the wildest things I've ever seen in my life. Poor state troopers just finally walking off saying, hey, we're not doing this anymore. Everybody everybody's begging to go in because they knew Tony, or hey, I helped Tony do this, and literally people finally just shoving him out of the way, getting in there.
The first thing that happened was when I drove into the pits, everybody was lined up clapping. So that was something that I didn't expect at all. Like, I'm not talking about mechanics, other teams, team owners, and I was like, wow. Is that really for me? Who did somebody? And then if you remember, I could not turn into Victory Lane because I turned and I actually ran out of room. we backed out. And then, yes, I mean, I had an idea that was chaotic because I kept getting hugs from people that I had no idea who they were. They just, and I was just hugging anybody that would come to the car. And, you know, obviously my wife came, but yeah, I got kisses and hugs and yes, and it was a mess. We couldn't hear anything because people were cheering so loud. I mean, when they gave me the milk bottle, and I guess you have to wait for the photographers. As soon as they gave me, I pour under my head. They go, no, we didn't take the picture, so we had to do it again. So I got two. But yeah, it was, like I said, it was crazy. I mean, it was something that you heard me saying 1,000 times. It's awesome to have a baby Borg at home. It's awesome to have the title, the picture, the ring. But to me, the sweetest part of it was celebrating with the fans there and after, you know, that everybody stayed when I did that lap around. That to me, I mean, it's better than anything else. It's better than the trophy. It's better than the prize money. It's better than anything. It was really something that I don't think I can. Like, I wish actually my kids were we had one kid at a time. We're up to 4 now. But I wish they were old enough to actually had experienced that. It's not about the win. It's about when you do something, or, you know, for me, the most unbelievable thing, and then that's why I appreciate the fans so much, is like I'm looking around and we're driving around in the Camaro, and I'm like, man, these people they're happy for me, you know, like for them. I mean, tonight they're all gonna go home. Tomorrow morning they're gonna wake up either hangover or, you know, yeah, it's a holiday. So, but they're gonna go on, you know, and I'm really extremely humble from, you know, the appreciation, because it's something that actually I've learned a lot how to appreciate a lot other things from other people as well since then, because it's okay to be happy for other people. You know?
So why don't you talk about your right arm? I mean, I think this place and that race made such an impression on you that your right arm sort of reflects that.
It took me 12 years to win it, so I might as well put it on in my arm. So basically, I had this guy that I wanted to get a tattoo from. He's from Sweden. He's like, it's one of these artists that you call. And the first time I called him, it was prior to the win. And you call a number, his secretary picks up, and she says, yes, you have to put a deposit of $5,000. I'm like, well, you don't even know what I'm doing. How am I? And you got to wait 2 years and we'll call you. I'm like, all right, whatever. So 2 years went by, I win the thing, and then I'm in Brazil doing a TV show to talk about the 500. And actually, this guy was a guest of the TV show. I'm like, man. And then obviously he loved racing, and sure enough, 2 hours later, we went to the studio in Brazil, and it took him 8 hours to do it. So he asked me what I wanted, and I said, look, I have plenty of tattoos, but I want something that I want to tell the story of my life, but and my life revolves about my career. And so we start with the bricks, so which I have an intention to win another 500, so I can go down even more. But then we start with the bricks. We did the baby Borg, and then I think you guys can see it, but there's the hand and footprints for 2 of our kids at the time. I need to complete their birth dates, our wedding date, the car number, obviously 11. And then I put the Rolex crown on the top when we won the Rolex 24. So we're gonna keep adding. We haven't won much races since, so we'll add on it.
So you touched on that. Not a lot of guys have won the 500 and the Rolex 24. You did it in 2015. What was that experience like?
It was a fun race. I mean, it's a completely different environment as far as, you know, you're sharing a car with 2 other guys, and you have to do your job, and you have to try to take care of the car to give to your teammate. So it's more of a team effort, and there is no competition among your teammate, because you guys won the same thing. It doesn't matter who's faster. If you're faster, please go ahead. Let's win this thing. So obviously doing with Dixon, we did it in four guys. I mean, me, Kyle Larson, Dixon, and Jamie McMurray. So you talk about a group of guys with Chip, you know, they had won so many times there. For me, you know, it was one of those things also that was unbelievable. I've never done a lot of sports car in my life since I came to America. All I've done was IndyCar. I did a little bit with Honda, and then when I joined Chip, he gave me the opportunity to drive the coolest cars. You know, I did that. I did with the Ford GT and Le Mans. So it's one of those things. I mean, you go, wow. You know, it's something that it was a completely different race, but it was fun. It's fun to get a watch. You know.
So one of the cool things about you is just that you do step out of your comfort zone. So sports cars, you know, we built a little dirt track out here. You did the Prelude. Mm-hmm. Haven't done dirt, I assume, ever when you did that.
No, I went there and they gave me...
Was that did Tony convince you? Who convinced you to come
Tony
do the Prelude?
called and says, hey, you want to do some dirt racing? I'm like, yeah, why not? And I thought he was going to give me a couple days to test, and he gave me 3 laps. 3 laps in qualifying. So, but Doug, you know, a lot of people, you know, you talk to some of the drivers, a lot of people have a lot of worries about what people are going to think, you know, what, you know, my reputation, what about if I get beat? You know, I do what I love, and it's driving the race car. If I'm going to get beat, that means I need to get better, or I'm there to learn. And so Tony called, and I said, yeah. So I did it for 3 years. Then they stopped doing it, but it was so much fun. I mean, I had no clue what I was doing. I mean, they said, you got to ride the cushion. I said, cushion in my town, it's a pillow. It's not. You know, and you know, I got a little bit of a tip from a couple of the guys, but I had a blast. I mean, it was a really cool experience, and I loved it.
And that was another one, I think, from, you know, for Tony Stewart to call you, who is maybe one of the most versatile drivers of our time period. It shows a lot of respect, because he's not just calling anybody. He's calling you because he knew that you could adapt.
Exactly. I think you know, that's something that I've done a bunch of different things, you know, as far as driving all the cars and into my career, and I never had a problem adapting or not adapting, but also never had a problem to jump in and say, let's do this. It doesn't matter, you know, you figure out. And I think that's something that's in my opinion, I'm not trying to, that's a real race car driver. You know, when you think about AJ, you think about Mario, those guys drove everything all the time. You know, all the time, all year long, you know, and so I think if you're a driver, you're a driver, you drive anything, right? That has a steering wheel and a pedal and an engine and 4 wheels, you're doing it.
So the one thing, so people obviously know you from what they see on the racetrack. For me, you've sort of become my go-to phone call when anything goes wrong or I need help. And 2013, you win the Indy 500, and we start thinking about this IndyCar Grand Prix thing that we hadn't announced yet, but for 2014. But we knew we had a road course that didn't have a lot of high grades. The F1 guys didn't like it. The MotoGP guys didn't like it. We were still in the middle of our MotoGP relationship. We want to do an IndyCar race, but we need a racetrack that works. So the first person I call is you, and you spent countless hours with me between, you know, the end of that summer and really until we got it all paved and ready. I think the first cars on it were you in the Corvette, and me riding along in the rain. That's the one thing I think people don't know about you. It's how much you actually give back to the sport. The Brad Keselowski crash at the Brickyard, before the race is over, I'm calling TK. Saying, hey, what's your thoughts on that? I know we had a Rosenquist issue.
No, you said, hey, are you watching this?
I think that's probably what I said.
You said yes?
So you...
I was about to send him back to the medical center after what he said, but that was...
he was a little rough on us. Talk a little bit about how that's... So at one point in time, you were solely focused on racing, but now you're focused on racing, but you're also focused on helping the sport be in a better position, and those are just 2 little examples of it.
Yeah, I mean, the sport made me who I am, you know, and then I believe you got to give it back. You know, I'm so fortunate to be doing what I love and to become successful what I love and to be lasting this long, so why not? You know, it's something that, you know, you got to give it back. And, you know, we became really good friends, and I believe in the sport. I believe in IndyCar. This place is unbelievable. It's so rewarding to know, you know, obviously a lot of people don't know what we done to make the track, but to me that didn't matter, because I was proud that when this thing worked, and the Grand Prix is one of our good road course races now, that I was part of it. And so, if, you know, safety, we're miles ahead of anybody. You know, IndyCar, although some people claim, you know, I think we have the man right there, you know, you know, before I came to America, I thought he was the craziest man I've ever met. And then I met him, and I said, no, that's right. I was right.
I was going to say, you're right. I think.
But you know, we set examples, and you know, look at this place. So you know, I'm very protective about it too. I was extremely mad when, you know, I don't take criticism that way, in a good way sometimes, but. You know, yes. I mean, I'm here to help, and you know, I told you can call me anytime. And I think anything that involves IndyCar or racing that I can do to help, I feel like obligated to do it because this is my life. This has been my life, and it made me who I am.
So you've spent a couple years with AJ. Going to spend another year with AJ. Just recently announced. Anything surprising in that? I think we all have an idea of what AJ's like.
Actually, yes. He has come down a lot more than when I did not race for him, which I'm kind of glad. You know, it's a guy that he's an old school. You know, he tells you the way it is. Like St. Louis, our first podium in 5 years. You know, like. Drove my butt off all night long, and you know we lost, you know, the second place to Ed, and got out of the car. Larry's on the phone with him because AJ wasn't there, and I picked up the phone. He said, Larry says it's AJ. I said, hey boss, I thought you were gonna finish second. I was like, yeah. You know, then I said, I don't know what to tell you, man, but I finished third. You know? He says, good job. And he hung up. So that's AJ. You know, I hate that we've been struggling that much. I think he deserves better, but he's an interesting person. But I have to say, not once that he came to me when I struggled or when I crashed or we didn't qualify well or I made a mistake. He didn't have something encouraging to say. And actually, you know, a couple times this year, I made a couple mistakes in qualifying, and I came back, and he sits in my stand. He's the first person I see when I stop. And I went to apologize to him, and he's like, nah, don't worry. I mean, I cannot even say what he said because I will curse, but he says, the car is shit, actually. He said, don't worry, it's not you. And I said, AJ, no, that was me. No, it wasn't. So, you know, it's awesome, man. I mean, it's a guy that I respect so much, and you know, people have no idea. I know we struggled. We got, you know, a lot of criticism. I got a lot of, you know, I have very loyal fans, but that's what happens sometimes when, you know, you reach a level that, you know that. You're always on the hot seat. So I have very bad comments and people saying that I'm old, that I should retire and all this stuff, but to be honest, the experience that I chose to go there. I chose to be part of something that I wanted to be part of it. And then again, the result, obviously, motorsports, it's you know, racing, it's all about results. But to me, it's bigger than that. Like I said, it's giving it back. It's going through an experience that I can tell myself, I raced for that guy, for my racing hero. I mean, look at the people that I was teammates with. Look at the names. Look at the people that I raced for. You know, Andretti, AJ. So to me, that's what matters. A pure race fan. I'm a race fan as well. So it's the experience that I'm getting. I won the 500. I won the championship. I won everything I wanted to win. Not as much as I want to win, but I did it. Right? So now it's not just about winning as well. It's about enjoying. It's about enjoying life, enjoying the moments, hearing the stories, bringing my family to the racetrack. It's an extremely friendly team. I mean, it's so friendly that sometimes it's a chaos there because he has like 400 people there. I mean, it looks like AJ has friends. His friends are like him. They grow old, and they're old. And they're like, you know, they're in the pits, they're falling off. I mean, they're like, they can't hang themselves, and then they're just there. And you come back, and how old are they? Oh, 98, and it comes back next year, he's there. I'm like, dude, man, you guys tell me what's the secret here, but so and look at him. It doesn't take care of himself. Like I'm like, dude, come on, you can't eat the hot dogs all day. It's like, I don't care, So, but it's I'm having a blast apart from the hard times at the racetrack.
So you and AJ are 180 degrees opposite in terms of fitness and food and.
But he tells me that I don't have. You should not. You're working out too much. That's why you're not driving well. I said, AJ.
And it's true. He has an ice cream freezer in the garage.
No, hold on, and a hot dog machine too. Not just that. That thing keeps rolling. All day long, man. He has Dog, Dog is a truck driver. Okay, that was the electrician when he built his first building, which I don't even know how long ago, 4 or 5 decades ago. But that's how AJ is. He liked the guy, took the guy out of his job and made him. His job is to fill that thing every time with. So you get there, he's putting a bunch of, and the bun on the side, and the ice cream. That's.
So have you eaten one?
I have to. He's looking at me like, I'm like, yeah, okay.
So I'm looking over here to the Vukovic car, number 14. I think about the history of 14, especially as it relates to AJ. Has that ever hit you? When you're strapping into the 14 car?
The first time it hit me big time was when I signed, and, his Coyote logo, it's something that is like, to me, it was always like, wow. And the number, the first time I sat on that thing, especially, I have to say, so we do St. Pete, but when I came here with him for the first time in putting this car, that number into this racetrack, it was like I said, this place, when I won, I'm like, yeah, that's it. I lived through all. I'm never going to be nervous again. And then it was crazy. It was it was just something that, and it is heavy, it's, especially this past 2 years that we haven't, done as well as I wanted it to do. It's like almost that number doesn't deserve that. That number does not belong back there. It belongs in the front, or getting in a fight or taking somebody out or something like.
So, would AJ still fight today?
Trust me. Yeah. I don't think he will fight. He will get somebody, but he still has it. You don't want to piss him off.
So part of the fun of that garage, and you may not have time to do it, but AJ's always holding court. He's always telling stories. Do the stories repeat, or are you hearing new stories all the time?
No, it's unbelievable that they don't, actually. Every time I'm with him, it's a different one. And the most fun part of it is during the month of May, he stays here the whole time, so we have long days at the racetrack. And I come in and I'm talking. We have an intercom system, so basically you don't have to press a button. It's just everybody can talk, open mic. And I'm talking to Eric, my engineer, saying, hey, Eric, so we should do a little bit of a camber. And he just, yes. In 1964, when I bit Jim Clark to it, we had and he goes on, and then Eric just sits there and wait. We got to wait. You got to tell the story, man. So in other words, we have 5 hours here, AJ. You just go, and then he tells you the story in the intercom. And the guys they get to hear. And so, yeah, it's so many, it's crazy. I would love to have actually lived in that era. It's look at the cars and the way. The only sad part, I remember, the only thing that he really repeats, it's you never knew if you're going to survive a season, and you lose 2 or 3 friends a year like that. So, that's something that I definitely don't miss or don't look for, didn't want to live in the era because of that. But yes, they had a lot of fun. Just you walk through the shop and the pictures and the things that you see, the way they used to do things, it's so cool.
You mentioned losing friends, and obviously you lost Dan. How did your outlook on motorsport and on racing and the profession you've chosen, how did it or did it change after Las Vegas in 2011?
If for a couple weeks it did, and when he passed, I actually went to Lauren. I'm like, I'm gonna quit this thing. Enough, like, and she's like, just give it a time, think about it. And 2 weeks later, I decided that, if and that I tell that to my friends all the time. I think, as a driver, you don't want your friends to quit because of that. Actually, I want you guys, if something happens, I want you guys to keep doing this because this is what we do. But to me, honestly, I don't think it changed anything about the way I race. It changed that I said we need to go and keep the legacy and represent because this is what we do. I think at times we don't think about that stuff really, because if we do, we wouldn't be doing what we do. I definitely don't. That's very selfish of my part because today I have a family. I have 4 kids that I gotta take care of it. But it's something that I believe that it's never gonna happen to me. So and then you just do it. It's just the way we are.
Speaking of kids, how cool is it to see Dan's kids racing karts?
I know, man. Susie's crazy. It's really cool. I mean, obviously, they hadn't had a chance to spend a lot of time with their dad, so all they go by is the stories that we tell them, that Susie tells them, and so that's what they want to do, which is awesome. I think that's something that it's going to be really cool if one of them make it. I think it would be really sweet.
So the Tony, Dan, Dario trio made for a lot of entertainment in the paddock and a lot of great stories and a lot of great video footage that we've all seen and the fun that you guys had pranking each other. Does any of that still go on in the paddock? Is there a group that's like the three of you?
No. I think times have changed, but I mean, yeah, no. Which is, I remember, when we used to do that all the time, Michael actually said to us, enjoy it because generations will go and years they're going to go by and it's not going to happen again, or maybe what you guys have here. And not really. I mean, Will does a couple things with the Penske guys, but it's not the way we used to be. I think it was very unique. And then those are those kind of things that you don't force it, right? It was always natural. It came, and it was always fun to pick on Dan. It was my favorite thing to do.
And he always seemed like such a good sport about it, or he didn't really
No,
even
he was
understand,
not.
or he didn't
No, he was
understand you
not.
were picking on him, right?
And that's why we picked on him, because he was not. But yeah, his question was always like, why me? And then I gave him a perfect example. I said, Dan, look, the best way I can explain to you is this. When I was young, in school, obviously my nose is extremely big, and I know that. I had a friend of mine, a classmate, that had a nose not as big. But people would make fun of my nose, and I wouldn't care. And he actually got an extremely bad complex because so they picked on him all the time because he actually got bothered by it. I said, Dan, that's a perfect example because then we get bothered, right? I mean, one of the pranks we played on him here at the Speedway, we always have our locker in the garage, and his thing was always nice and tight, and shoes and suit. We messed that thing up before the session at 9 a.m. We hung his suit up in the ceiling. We made a mess. He got late to practice because he had to actually organize the whole thing. So how are you not going to pick on a guy like that?
So somewhere down the road, we hope it's 5 years from now, that there'll be a day that you don't show up in May to run the Indy 500.
I'll still be here. I might not run.
That's why I was going to be my question. I mean, what's May look like for Tony Kanaan after he's decided he's done running and hopefully won another Indy 500? What's May going to hold for you as you grow
I'm going to get invited to drive the pace car by you, and then I'm going to... I'm going to ask to hang in the pagoda in the best top floor with the air conditioning and a beer. I'm thinking that I'm probably going to regret I hadn't retired sooner. I don't know, Doug. I mean, obviously, it's getting there, right? I don't think I have 5 years left. Not because of my health or anything. I just think it gets to a point that you have to decide what to do. It's not happening next year, just so everybody knows. But I don't know. I mean, I try not to think about it because I think it's like people always ask me, when you win a race, how are you going to celebrate? I said, I don't plan that. I don't want to plan that. I want it to be natural. So I don't know. I think it's going to be very weird at first because I've been doing this for 22 years. But I don't know. I might find more interesting. Obviously, I'll be here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to bug you for keep me busy doing stuff, and IndyCar probably, hopefully, will use me. But I don't know. I'm probably going to do the things that I don't get to do. You know, the camp, in the campgrounds, and go to the concerts and get a beer in my hand, get drunk, and people are like, whoa, look at that. I don't know. We'll see.
So is there anything in racing that you haven't done that you want to do? You know, like Alonso's got this whole idea of the Triple Crown. I mean, is there anything out there that you retire from IndyCar racing, but there's that one Daytona 500? Is there something that you want to do?
I don't want to sound, like, no, man. I'm extremely fulfilled with my career. I mean, I've never had a desire to run anything else than an IndyCar in my life. Obviously, I got some cool experiences, but I've never thought of that. It came and I took it. I'm not saying, I don't know, somebody invite me to do the Daytona 500, would I go do it? Yes, but it's not something that I'm going to pursue. I'm extremely fulfilled with what I do today. So, and I'm not the type of person that I'm extremely ambitious to say, well, I want to win all that, I want to enjoy life, and I think if that's going to be in a racetrack, driving a race car, or in a racetrack with the fans, or with my wife and my kids, it's so not really. I think I've been around for way too long. I think I've done a lot. I mean, do I want to run a couple different cars? One thing that I haven't done is actually to drive. I drove on the dirt, but I haven't done really a midget race. Probably, I don't know if I want to do a race, but I would like to try that. I mean, I saw Connor, and that's something that I want to try, but it's not like it's a must that I want to win this, or I want the race that I wanted to win, and I'm extremely happy about it.
So I can probably figure out the dirt track thing if you want to do
No,
that.
I know. Right now, actually, it's funny because how crazy AJ was through his entire career, he doesn't let me do anything. He's like, no, you're my, you can't get hurt. And so he actually, when I got invited to do Le Mans, which he was there, the car that actually he won with Gurney, and he was extremely, like, cautious to, like, please take care, don't, so eventually he'll let me loose, then we'll, trust me, I'll drive that thing all day long.
So speaking of competing, and I think it's great that you ride and run and swim, what's on the horizon for competition for you? I know you do it to stay in shape, but it seems to me like you also do it because you're really passionate about triathlons. Yeah,
I mean, I just did a bike race here in Indy last week, not the weekend before last. It was 100 miles that we did. It was pretty cool, actually. It was my first real bike race. Triathlons it's been one of my passions. So I did the World Championship in Kona, which is a full Ironman. I have, a couple of the sponsors that on the triathlon side that want me to do Ironman again, Kona again, which I can't do it right now because the training is so hard to really dedicate yourself during the season. It's tough. I did that in 2011, and actually I did the Ironman between two races. We raced in Kentucky. I did the Ironman, then we raced in Vegas when, Dan passed. But so I have a few things that I want to do besides racing, which is, right now I really can't because it's as dangerous as, actually more dangerous than racing. If I get hurt, AJ would definitely hurt me more. But I'll probably do the Ironman again.
So we've always thought of you as a Hoosier, even when you lived in Florida.
I married one.
Lauren convinces you to come home.
Actually, she said that's not true. She says I convinced her.
Okay, well, thank you, Lauren, for listening. Do you feel like a Hoosier?
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, I lived in Miami for 22 years. And the only reason I moved to Miami at first, I was single. It's a cool place. And the weather, right? The weather, as a Brazilian, we don't do well in the cold. But, you know, eventually we, actually what really clicked, we always had a place here. You know, when I met Lauren 11 years ago, obviously she lived here. Then we always had a small place here. Her family's here. So we're here all the time. We spend all the festivities, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all, you know, every year. So one of the years she said, do you realize you spend more time in Indy than you spend in Miami with us? And then I'm like, that was the first thing that we started thinking about. Actually, you know, the family was growing. We needed a bigger place regardless because we were going to be coming here all the time. Our family is here, so it's a place that we needed a place. Then we went through the hurricane a couple years ago, and, you know, when it was just her and I, you say, well, the hurricane's coming. We're just going to fly somewhere and pray for the best. But then when we had to move 3 kids, 2 dogs, you know, and I had to drive a motorhome all the way from Florida to here, I'm like, you know what? I think it's time. And actually, that's what happened. And we found a house that we wanted. And I found the house that I wanted. And I told her, we're going to buy a house. She's like, for what? I said, you know, we needed one anyway. So, and then eventually we decided, to be honest, for our kids, we want them to grow close to our family. We have nobody in Miami. We have no family. My family's in Brazil. Her family is here. Midwest is a lot nicer than Florida as far as the people, how friendlier they are. You know, I think, you know, worrying about how the kids are going to grow up with, you know, the shock of culture. They already have the shock of culture of me and her, a Brazilian and an American. But so we decided to move here a year and a half ago. And I have to say it was the best thing we've ever done. I struggled in the beginning, I have to say. If you had asked me that question in November last year, that bloody cold winter, it was minus 20, that I was like, this is not human. You guys are wrong. But I love it. I love it here. I mean, I have a bunch of friends here. It's hard to, you know, this is like when I go home to Brazil, it's like, you know, when I have to go out to do something, I always tell her, she goes, hey, can you go to the grocery store? You realize it's going to take twice as much time because people, which is awesome. I mean, I don't mind. I like that. I think, you know, it's so cool that people recognize you and they want to talk to you. So it's something that obviously in Miami didn't happen as much. Here is just really emphasized. And I enjoy it, and people are friendly, and the kids love it. I mean, they haven't talked about Miami once since we moved. So I guess I am. I bought a truck. You know, like I have a truck now. I feel like.
Have you hauled anything in it yet, or are you just driving around?
No, do you have to haul things in the truck too? I just bought a truck because everybody has one. I said, I put my bike in.
That's great. Well, I think we're going to, TK has been kind enough to join us tonight. He's got to get on a plane here shortly and head to see the boss, I think.
I have a sponsor meeting, so make the boss happy.
That makes the boss happy, good. So, but we are going to take some Q&A. I think Dave's got a microphone, so if anybody's got a question, I think TK will take some questions, and then we'll thank him and get him on the road.
Whatever you guys want to know.
All right, we'll start with you, John.
Yeah.
I'm carrying this. Use this, please.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Sandy's father.
I know you. Every time you see me, for 15 years, you'd say the same thing, Dave.
Anyway, what did you think? Had you been to Laguna Seca in the near past?
Yeah, actually, I raced there for the first, so 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. So 8 years in a row when I was in Champ Car. And then my last time there was in 2005 with the Honda, the Acura car, and we won the race. So I love the track. It was a great venue. Actually, the attendance was huge.
Looked like.
Obviously, as an IndyCar, you know, we always talk about we want to go places that people want to watch the race. Sonoma was an awesome track, but for some reason, we couldn't get the people enough people to go watch us. And Laguna was unbelievable. So although we got some criticism about switching this and that, it was a success. So it was, and then I love the racetrack. For a driver, that is, as far as a road course, to give you the feeling of like the sensation of elevation and blind corners, it's by far the best track.
I read Scott commenting about how the tires, the black walls, fell off toward the end of his run, and the car just slowed down. Did you experience that kind of scenario?
Our car was so slow that we never slowed down.
Sorry I asked that.
I'm kidding. Oh, AJ is going to kill me today. No, it is. And actually, we've been working with Firestone for that to happen. We want the tires to actually slow us down or the cars to slide, because that's how you get a chance to pass. That's how you get a chance to work on your car to actually, your car will not eat the tires as much as the other guy, and you have more chances to pass. So, yes, the track actually hasn't been repaved in 25 years, so the asphalt also is, and they have that sand around the track that the wind was pretty strong and it will blow in. So it makes, not just the track, doesn't make the track slippery, but that sand with the combination with the asphalt and us, like it wears the tire even quicker, because it's kind of like, it's grinding the tire. So but it was a fun race. I don't know if you guys enjoyed it, but we did for sure.
What's a typical day for Tony Kanaan here in Indianapolis?
All right. So Lori and I, we wake up at 5 a.m. Lauren goes to work out, and I stay home to try to keep every kid in the bedroom before she comes back. We have a home gym, so while she's at the outside, she goes out to the gym. I work out, then we wake up. The kids wake up at around 7, so we feed them breakfast. Her and I actually take them to school. When I'm home, we make sure we both put them in the minivan. I drive a minivan too. I tint the windows as dark as I could so people don't. So we drop them off. Then from there, I go to the gym to Pit Fit to do my race car stuff. We pick the kids up at 11:30. We have lunch together. Then I go ride my bike in the afternoon. We put the kids to bed. We have dinner together with the kids at 6:30, and usually she's asleep at 8, and I'm asleep at 8:30. Old people.
And when he says ride his bike,
Ride
you
my
don't
bike.
mean just like pedal down to the grocery store. I've seen where you're doing 60, 70 mile
Yeah,
rides.
I did actually 50 miles before I came here today. So we average 50 to 60 I 50 to 60 miles a day. I work out 3 times a day, but I have time, so can't complain.
Could you talk about the 1998 Michigan 500, which I think was your first win, particularly the last lap?
It was 99.
Oh, 99,
Yeah.
yes.
Max, that race was really interesting because I lost the radio in the middle of the race. And back in the days, we used to use the signboards. And so I could hear them, but they couldn't hear me. So at one point, actually, in the middle of the race, they kept saying, well, do you need front wing? If you need front wing, just when you drive by the pits at the racetrack, raise your left arm. Or if you don't need, just don't do anything. Or if you need anyway. First time I needed a front wing and I raised my arm. I never had done that in my life. It got stuck like 200 miles an hour that I'm like, that's not going to work. Then we actually lost the radio completely and we started using the signboard. But the guy that was doing the sideboard, I don't know, for whatever reason, he wouldn't hold it steady. And you talk about going at 230 miles an hour. And every time I would drive by, in the oval, it's not a straight line. It was actually, the front straight, he was actually doing this. So I had no clue what was on. I had no clue what position I was. And that's why I almost lost the race. So eventually, I see Max, but you know, you're in the middle of the race, you can't see anything. At the time, I don't think they had a pylon. I mean, it's a 500-mile race. People pass you, pass people. You never know who's a lap car, who's not, especially if you don't have a radio. And Max starts to slow down. And the lap before, I was trying to look at this board that this guy is shaking like crazy. And I'm like, so I said, did I miss the checker flag? So he's slowing down, I'm slowing down. Right? And then I don't know why, up until today, then I see he's trying to get out of the track pretty quick. Then I realize, wow, actually, he's not. The race is not over. So I picked the throttle back up, and that's how Montoya almost passed me. And then I realized, because then I slowed down and I looked at the pylon, and then my number was this. Oh, I think I won this thing. And I won.
I like that.
You know, you were well known and loved before you won, and everybody says when you win this race, it changes your life. So years later, does it?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, I was telling the story that we're going to run out of sponsorship after this race, and I won this race, and I'm still racing today. So probably that could have been it. I signed with Chip, one of the best teams in IndyCar, and the rest is history. So, yeah, it did change my life. It did change my career, I would say. My life, it was just one more thing that I feel extremely fortunate that I wanted it to accomplish, and I did. But as far as my career, yes, because it made me last a lot longer.
Tony, I got a grandson. He's 3 years old. Took him to his first 500. Big Tony Kanaan fan. I've been to 43 races, and he comes up from Austin, Texas, just to see you run. So you're pretty popular around here. I just wanted you to know that. And the city appreciates you. But you know, one thing that is remarkable to me is what great physical shape you keep yourself in. You know, I just wonder. You say you run 50 to 60 miles a day on the bike. When you go to the gym, do you do yoga, stretching, weights, or what does it amount to? And how many hours a day would you say you put into fitness? You do a great job of it, and you're quite an example for everyone.
My average, it's 30 hours a week if you divide that, you know, between the gym. When I go to the gym, actually my wife took me to her class, and man, my butt's hurting. They're tough, but we do a lot of neck exercise, a lot of core exercise, shoulder. It's actually when I go to the gym, it's for the race car. It's just focusing on. I'm extremely anal of. I want to finish a race, and I want to be able to do another race right the next minute. I don't want anything. I don't want to think about my physical condition. I don't want that to be something that is in my head. So I'm always preparing myself for the worst. And I think sometimes Lauren would agree that she thinks I push too hard and do a little bit too much, which we agree to disagree. But yeah, at the gym I really focus on. We debrief about what happened in the last race, what kind of pain. I said, no, this time I felt my neck, so we work on neck. But pretty much I spend probably 2 hours at the gym, just more specific. We have a great gym here in Indy, PitFit, Jim Leo. He's extremely famous. I mean, everybody goes there. They have them in St. Vincent. They're the two specialized gyms for drivers, right? And so that's pretty much what I do.
Tony, thanks for coming. If you could pick any era of IndyCar out of this museum, and Doug would let you, which one would you choose and why to go rip a couple hundred laps off on a Saturday or Sunday here?
It's a hard one. I would do the 60s. I just think it was, the roadsters are, I would love to do that. Probably, back then, if I drive one of those, it scares the hell out of me. Fuel tank is in between your legs, stuff that you go, dude. But yeah, the 60s for sure. And then I can't imagine like, we're all race fans, and I know you guys are here because you guys know the history, but you have like 60 cars to qualify. Nowadays, we're like complaining that we have 3 more. Wow, like, and then how those guys qualified year after year and never missed one. I would love to have lived there. I mean, despite of, the leather helmets and the goggles.
First of all, welcome as a Hoosier.
Thank you.
Tell us the funniest shenanigan between you, Dario, and Dan that you just break up. Remember?
Sorry, I couldn't.
Oh, the funny shenanigan you, Dario, and Dan did.
Ooh, okay.
Thank you.
I think it's a famous one. I've told the story plenty of times, but Dan's first race in Japan. The racetrack has a hotel inside, which we should think about that. It's inside the racetrack, so we all stay there. So we get there, and then I'm talking to Dario. I said, Dario, we need to pull. I'm going to make the short version because some of the things I don't think I can actually say here. We need to pull a prank on Dan. What should we do? What should we do? And Dario, myself, and Brian Herta, we said, well, we should break into his room and do something. So I go to the front desk. The lady does not speak English. I don't speak Japanese. So I said, hi, I'm Dan Wheldon, and I lost my room key. Oh, Mr. Wheldon, no problem. So she gives me his room key. And we're lucky because the room key is there. They actually had the room number on the key. Otherwise, I was going to say, I lost my room key, but I don't remember my room number. She was going to go, So she didn't ask me for anything. So we go up. No, I grabbed the key. So I go to our team PR and said, Al, you got to tell Dan he has an appearance. And they have a museum inside the track. Said he has to do an appearance in the museum. You got to keep him there for an hour. Good. So we see him leaving, and Dan is complaining, well, I got to do this. You guys don't. I said, you're a rookie. You go do it. So we go up. We break into his room. We took the TV out of his room. We took the mattress out. And then he had 5 pairs of shoes, which I don't understand how you're going to make a trip. Why do you need 5 pairs? Right? I mean, I have my running shoes and actually my nice shoes. So we took one of each shoe of each pair, put it in a box. Huh? The same foot of it, so he couldn't even use, obviously he was wearing one. So I said he will learn how he can travel with one pair of shoes. And we actually FedEx back here. He had more head products than my wife has, for sure. So we messed it up a little bit. We emptied his toilet, water, closed the water, and took the knob out, so he couldn't reopen the toilet. And a couple of guys actually went to the toilet, and we turned the heat on, closed the door, and left. It was a small hotel. We could hear him screaming my name because I always got the blame. I was the master. And so he gets mad. We're all hiding in the room next door, which is Dario's room. Does the same thing. He goes downstairs and asks the girl for my room key and got in my room, but he didn't find anything. I had one pair of shoes in my bag. I said, you want to take it, man? So, yeah, that was probably the worst one. They got me back, though, back here the following year. Him, Dario, and Brian grabbed my bike, my bicycle, which was a pretty expensive one. It's like an $8,000 bicycle, carbon fiber. And I'm doing a live interview for ESPN. They came from the back, so just pretend that I can see them. I'm live on TV. And they saw my bike in half. Right in front of me, and I couldn't do anything because it was live. So like completely in half. Like they had it, by the time I finished my interview, it was in two pieces. So. No, I did not. It was a prank, so there's no limits. They didn't pay for it.
If you had the good fortune next year, AJ landing a sponsor with a pile of money, what would you like to see most improved in both your road course car and your oval car for next year's competition?
And the team, I would say our oval car is actually pretty decent. So I would say we need to improve the road and street courses. AJ has already made some changes right after the season as far as personnel. If you guys read, a couple guys actually have left the team. My actually engineer that has been with me for 20 years actually decided to leave. We thought that it wasn't. He's a good friend. I'm the godfather of his daughter, and it was he was losing his health, and I hate to do that with a friend. So I said you should go do something else. And obviously probably still going to stay in IndyCar, but we're going to make some changes and just really hope that we'll steer the team to the right direction. The first thing is to try to secure a good sponsor. We have a lot of things on the line. AJ, like when we first got the news that ABC was leaving, in my mind, that is no way AJ is not going to fuel the car. It's just, it doesn't make it, it's not fair for racing, you know. So that's why I decided, you know, he said to me, you're free to do whatever you want. I said, I am. I'm staying right here, and we're going to find this thing. And so we put our heads together. We're doing. I'm traveling tonight for a meeting tomorrow, but we're running regardless how. If it's going to be it might be. I told him it might be a good year for us to do some retro paint schemes like the way he ran in the past and the way the cars that I ran in the past, and we find different sponsors for every race. So, but improve the road course car, the road street course car. We need to do better. I mean, I'm getting tired to starting that last. You know, it's funny because we left Laguna, and I got a call from IndyCar that actually I got an award. I'm like, what, the Fusori Award or something? You guys are gonna give it to me? They call the Hard Charger Award. I mean, I guess I'm the driver that passed most cars this year, 93 cars. It's not that hard when you start last. You have nobody to lose a position to. You just have to pass people, right? So we need to improve our qualify car and road street courses for sure.
What was it like having Rubens for a season to race with?
Having Rubens, you said? As a teammate? So Rubens and I go back a long time, right? He raced Formula One his entire life. When my dad passed, my dad used to sponsor Rubens in go-karts, Rubens and myself. When my dad passed, his dad actually kind of became my father, right? He helped me out kept me in school, kept my head straight, and kept me in racing for a long time. So back in 2005, the 500 is always the same day as the Monaco Grand Prix, and we're joking around, and I said, dude, I'm never going to race in Monaco in a Formula One car, and you're never going to race in an Indy car, so let's swap helmets. So we pretended we both race. So he raced the Monaco race with my helmet, and I raced the 500 with his helmet. The irony is, I don't know how many years later, it was 2013, so 12. 7 years later, talking to Jimmy, Rubens actually had retired from Formula One. We're in New Year's in Rubens' house. Lori and I are like, hey, why don't you come test an Indy car? Because I know him. He was going to test, and he was going to fall in love. He was going to win a race. He's like, yeah. So I called Jimmy. I said, hey, Jimmy, we should give Rubens a test. I mean, the worst comes to worst, we're going to get a great feedback. So we go to Sebring. He drives the car. It was an open test. He was the fastest guy that day. From then on, I knew he was going to try to do everything he could to race an Indy car. So it was a really cool experience. Very interesting year because Rubens and I never raced against each other. He was a couple years older than me, and he went to Europe, and I came here, and we both made our careers separate. We kept, obviously, he's like my brother. I'm the godfather of his son. He's the godfather of my son. We're really close, but it was cool. And the best part of it is I beat him in the championship. So up until this day, I tell him I'm a better driver than him. I actually said, in theory, Rubens, you were second to Schumacher 7 times. So if I was in your place, I would have won 7 times.
Lauren, is there anything you want to ask him while we get to watch him answer uncomfortably? Doug, you got another one in you?
Huh? Oh, Doug probably has.
We could talk all night long. How fun is this to have Tony Kanaan sitting here, guys? This is pretty cool, huh? So maybe one of the coolest moments in my time at the Speedway happened in Detroit in 2013, actually early 2014. I go up for the dinner where you're going to get your baby Borg, and you get a baby Borg.
I know. I don't.
Did you know that was going to happen?
No. So that story, you guys probably heard it, but February that year, our oldest son, Leo, he was, I don't know, I'm going to get it wrong. I don't know how old he was, but not old enough to tell me what he told me. He was 7. We went go-karting for the first time. And then we were at the racetrack all day. I was teaching him lines and stuff. So by the end of the day, we did a race, right? So we go, just him and I. And we do the first race, then I win. It was a 2-lap race. Then he asked me for another one. So we do another one, and he wins. So we go for the tiebreaker. He wins. And I said, well, can we do one more? He says, no, I'm too tired. So I'm like, all right. So put him in the car. We're driving home. The track is a little far away from home. And he's sitting, obviously, in his car seat. And I'm thinking, I got to tell this kid, try to teach him something about, losing. Because, obviously, he hates to lose. And actually, every single kid of ours. I know who they got that from. But, so I'm like, Leo, you see that races a lot, and, we don't win all the time. You need to get used to that stuff. You won today, good job. But anyway, and I go, blah, blah, blah. He turns around and says, well, yeah, because obviously you understand a lot about losing, right? So what do you mean? He says, well, I know you won a lot, but since I've been around, you haven't. I'm like, all right, yeah, you're right. I said, you know what? Dad's going to win the biggest race in the world, which you'll know which one it is, the Indy 500. I'm going to give you the trophy. You're going to put it in your nightstand because every time you open your freaking eyes, you're going to remember that I won that one. So that's how I started it. So the word gets around. Borg Warner finds the story, which I mentioned, I think, a couple times, and that was it. I mean, it was like we go there, and they actually, at the time we only had him, so we're going to bring him as a great moment, the family moment, Lauren, I, and him, and he's there in this suit, and all of a sudden he gets, like, bloody kid, 7 years old, never done anything, and just gets a baby Borg. It took me 37 years to get it. But yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, it's up until this day. Yeah, it's in his nightstand. He takes care of it. Like it's something that for him it's something that's never been done. And I got told that it was not gonna happen ever again because I know Hunter Ray tried, and he had to buy one. But now look, they keep doing cool things because now they put Simon's dog into it. I'm like, whoa. So, but it was like, to be honest, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like the more that we talk about this win, the more things that come out that is not about the win. It's like, let's talk about the 3 faces in the trophy right next to each other. Who are they? Dan, Dario, and I. I mean, even if we could script that, it wouldn't. So that's what I said. I said, if it's almost like, I always say the track picks the winner, and I call the track a she because it's a woman to me. Don't get jealous, honey. our relationship is a little not as long as me at the track, but you're first. It's almost like the track waited it and says, just hold on, we're gonna make this right, and it's just right, you know. So it's pretty cool to have a kid. Your kid has a trophy of your biggest achievement in your life, and it's not yours because I said you're not getting mine. And the funny part of it, when he got the little one, he says, "Can I have that one?" He wanted the biggest one. I said, "Nobody can, bro."
Well, I think we just those last couple minutes, these folks are here and I'm here today because of the passion and the respect you have for this place, for this lady, for the track that chooses you. I think we all believe that, and that's why our fans love you. We appreciate you taking time out when we know you got to get going. Tony can't stay for photos or autographs, but he did personally autograph
I pre-signed
cards
every single one of them.
so that everybody can take one away to remember this evening. But on behalf of all of us in this room and the 300,000 people that come here every Memorial Day Sunday, thank you for loving this place like you do. We'd love to see you in Victory Lane again, and we can't wait to see you around Indianapolis and have a safe flight.
I'm around. I mean, I just thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, when they called me to do this thing, I said, of course. I mean, I've loved to do it. I would love to have more time to do it even. You know, today was actually, I wanted to squeeze this in. You know, this meeting came up last minute. Hopefully, I'll have some awesome news tomorrow for us. So this is a good vibe. It's a good lead. It's a good energy for me to go get on a plane right now and hammer whoever I have to hammer tomorrow. And you know, I just want to thank you guys. I think, you know, I say that every year. And now I live here, so I live Indianapolis 24/7. You know, it's really amazing how you guys make me feel, and I hope you know you guys feel as loved. You know, because I really appreciate everything you do for me. I mean, I have full commitment to you guys. To you, Doug, I mean, you became a friend. You know me, you can call me anytime that I will do anything for this place. And hopefully we get to do this again, right? Michael is next, I think, in a couple weeks. I might just tell him not to come and we'll do it again. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony. And thank you to the museum, Betsy.